Hello, welcome to Captain Dorja's Armory. This is Captain Dorja, and we are on the 8.6 test server right now. You can see in my garage it's full of tanks that I don't own. When I come on the test server, generally what I'm doing is I'm just testing tanks that I think are interesting. I don't tend to come on and test the next big thing. I'm not too worried about that. I grind out my tanks pretty slowly, so I'll get to them in time. I just kind of want to, fiddle around with them. What I do on the test server is I like to experiment with tanks that I'm relatively close to unlocking, like the E-50M, Object 268. I'm actually not that far off from the mouse. I got the AMX 5120 to see how it compared with the AMX 5100, because I really like the 5100, and I'm not that far from upgrading. Same thing with the Carnarvon and the Centurion Mark 1. And most of this other stuff I just got to fiddle around with. So yeah, you're not going to be getting artillery reviews from me. I'm an experienced enough player with a good enough grasp of this game and the way it works to be able to make educated guesses about what will happen with the artillery. But as I'm not a big artillery player, I won't be able to evaluate the artillery changes nearly as well. So I'm just not going to do it. There are people out there who can do a better job at it than I would, and most of them are doing it. So if you want to get a good look at the artillery, take a look at Quickie Baby's YouTube channel. It's Quickie Baby TV on YouTube. He's got a really good artillery video up. So if you're interested in that, you should go to him. The other thing I'm not going to be doing is I'm not going to be looking too much at the Sacred River or Sacred Valley map. That's the new map that's going to be released in 8.6. I did get a game in the T-57 Heavy on that map that I will be putting up at some point, just to give an idea of the way that map is. The T-57 was the match that I had where I did best on that map, so that's why I'll be using that one. But what we're here to look at today is the T-54E1. This is a Tier 9 American medium tank with a 4-shot autoloader, and this tank is quite good. You can see that I don't have a 100% crew in it because I decided to get it the second day after I came on the test server. So I'd already used up all my gold getting 100% crews for all these other tanks. So my 54E1 only has a 93% crew. It's the crew from my Pershing on the live server. So you can see they have 6 cents in repairs on the commander. Everybody else has 100% repairs. The gunner has snapshot, the driver has smooth ride, and the loader has camouflage. So that's my crew. For equipment, I've got a vertical stabilizer, improved ventilation, and an enhanced gun laying drive. And we'll discuss that in a minute when we look at the gun. Now, this tank is it's reasonably mobile. It's not a freak mobility tank, like the French autoloaders, like the Lorraine 40T, which is really agile. It is not as agile as those tanks. It is quite agile, but it's not as agile as those. This is more the agility of a standard medium tank, not like a freak like this, or this Leopard right here. So the 54E1, it gets around, but it's not the fastest or the most maneuverable medium out there. But those weaknesses are compensated for by it having a pretty incredible gun. Now, this is the 105mm gun T140E2. It features a 4-shot autoloader clip, and it has 390 average damage, which is pretty high, and 210 penetration, which is kind of in the middle for the Tier 9 medium tank guns. And to give you an example, we'll take a look at the two guns on the T-54. These are the two guns you can upgrade to on the T-54 Soviet Tier 9 medium. The 100mm D-54, which is the one you see quite often, it's long. It's got a fume extractor and a muzzle brake on it. It's kind of the standard fully upgraded T-54 gun. And this is the 100mm D10 T2C, which is the gun that I have on this T-54. I don't have my T-54 fully upgraded on the live server, which is why I've been playing it on tests with this new gun. I wanted to test it out. So you can see the D10 T2C has 201 millimeters of penetration, and the D54 has 219 millimeters of penetration. So the 210 millimeters on the gun for the T54E1 is kind of right in the middle of that. And what I will say is, in the games I've played with this T54, mounting this 201 penetration gun, I haven't had any problems. And test server matchmaking, you fight lots of tier 10s. So if I'm able to make my T54 work with only 200 millimeters of pen against teams of like 14 tier 10s and a tier 9, you ought to be able to make the T54E1 with 210 millimeter pen work in a more normal matchmaking environment, where you'll probably encounter on a bad match something like 5 tier 10s and 8 or 10 tier 9s. Basically, the penetration on this means that you don't want to have to engage tier 9 and 10 heavy tanks frontally. And really, in truth, if you're doing that with this tank, you're not playing to its strengths, or your entire team has died and you're completely screwed anyway. So the pen shouldn't really be that much of an issue. You can see that the accuracy, 0.4, is not very good, so you don't want to be fighting at extreme range with this tank. You want to be fairly close. And it has a 2.9 second aiming time, which is fairly long. Now, the 2.9 second aiming time is the reason why I mounted the gun laying drive. With a vertical stabilizer, I've reached the point where every tank that I own that can fit a vertical stabilizer, I put it on, because decreasing your aiming time by 20% is frankly, it's worth it. Even if your aiming time is really fast, lowering it to being freakishly fast is better. So the vertical stabilizers are on to lower this aiming time. The improved ventilation is on to lower the aiming time, to help the driver, to help reload the clip faster, to, all of that. Reload in between shots faster, all of that. And then the gun laying drive to further cut down this aiming time. And the reason why you want to cut the aiming time down as much as possible on this particular tank is it can fire its autoloader before the gun is fully aimed. So when you fire and reload your shell out of your autoloader clip, you can actually fire again before you're fully aimed. And that is a big disadvantage because it reduces your accuracy by a lot. And with autoloader tanks, you really need all your shells to be as effective as possible. So that's why I went with those three. A lot of the time, if there's no obvious other third choice, I find coated optics are a good option, but on this tank I decided to go with the gun laying drive. Now, because this tank can fire its guns so fast, it allows you to do about 1,600 damage somewhere in the order of about 9 seconds, which is very, very, very fast. So you can dump your entire clip in about 9 seconds, but then you have about a 36-second reload with my 93% crew. So you want to be, you have to be cognizant of your reload because it is pretty long. But honestly, the power of this gun means that the reload's not that big of a deal, and this tank is still agile enough that you can withdraw to reload pretty effectively. One thing I will mention is for consumables, a case of cola might not be a bad idea to help your crew skills, and 105 octane gasoline might also not be a terrible idea to get you some extra engine power to help your mobility out. But you have to weigh that against the chance of being set on fire. I personally just went with the Holy Trinity, small first aid kit, small rep kit, manual fire extinguisher. So, we've been in the garage for a long time looking at this thing. It's time to get her into battle. So let's hop on over to the battle and watch this thing blow stuff up. Right, well, here we are in our test server match. We're in the T-54E1, and immediately right away you can see standard battle on fjords, and the matchmaking is favorable. Generally on the test server, if you take anything tier 8 to 10, you're going to get a match that's all tier 10s, or mostly tier 10s, with a smattering of tier 9s, and then whatever you're driving. So, to get a match of tier 9s, 8s, and even a few 7s is really, really favorable. Just for the record, we do have the new American tier 9 artillery on our team, the M53-55. Not really able to get a look at him, but that's not what we're here for anyway. Now, as I was driving out of the base at this point, I was immediately thinking, wow, this is going to be a pretty long reload, because I was only about halfway reloaded, 20 seconds in, and that's a pretty long reload. So, with autoloader tanks, reload management is one of the most important skills there is to have. And this tank has a 36-second reload. So, 36 seconds isn't as bad as the AMX 5100, which has a 48-second reload, but 36 is still pretty long. A lot of things can happen in 36 seconds. So, at this point, I was initially thinking, wow, this tank's reload really sucks. Gonna have to be careful here. So, I'm taking a support position. This is actually one of my favorite early positions on this map. I feel like it gives you a good chance to kind of evaluate what the enemy's doing. And once you've detected a bunch of the enemy tanks and you've evaluated what they're doing, you can then respond to that. Now, I'm responding right now because our T-54 has pushed the hashtag YOLO button and decided that he was going to go for it, which was really dumb. And he is now dead. In fact, he died so fast that I wasn't able to come help him, because I was not going to just dive straight into all those enemy tanks. But I have been looking for an opportunity to get some damage in based on his detection of the enemy. And this IS-3 makes himself available. I emptied my whole clip into him. One shot bounced, and one shot missed. And even with that, we were still able to reduce his HP by half. So I feel like that's pretty impressive, to cut down a tier 8 heavy tank in half with only half your clip. So you can see we're going through the reload again, just to get an idea of how long that reload is. Now, my team's fairly weak on this part of the map, so I don't want to be too aggressive. The main concern that I need to have is to not die, because there's a lot of enemy tanks up here, and our strength is pretty limited to me and 3 others up north, covering, 2/3 of the map. But I feel like I have a really good opportunity to flank this 5120 and knock him out easily, so I move aggressively against him, put one shot into him, and kill him. Now I have more than enough damage potential to destroy this T-69. So we roll in and empty our other 3 shots into the T-69, easily killing him. A tier 8 medium from behind with only 900 hit points is basically cannon fodder for this tank. That T-69 had absolutely no chance. Right, so we're going through the reload cycle again, and we know there's a T-54, an E-50, a T-54E1, a T-34, and an IS-3 all over here. So we need to be careful. Now I'm trying to get shots in on these 2. There you can see one more into the IS-3. Right, 4 shots into that IS-3 and I've killed him. So if my first clip, if all 4 of those shots had gone in, that would have been a dead IS-3. That is a pretty powerful 4-shot clip. Right, so now I only have 2 in the chamber, and I don't want to attack an E-50 when I only have 2 shots in my clip, because that just means that I'll do 800 damage to him. He'll still have 1,000 health, and he'll kill me on my reload. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to use the terrain to my advantage so that I can move up and support our guys all the way up north and dump my last two shots in the back of this T-54. That's exactly what we do. We're able to do about 700 damage to him, leaving him on 300 health, which should be no problem for our Centurion 7-1 and IS-6. Now, here's a problem for me. Full health E-50, and I'm still halfway through my reload, so I can't do anything. I decided to come around the rock to buy time against the E-50, which was a ballsy move considering there was a T-54E1 back there. But the E-50 has missed two of his shots, and I've gotten some friendly fire onto this E-50, and now I'm loaded. My first shot bounces, that's unfortunate. So I put my second shot into his commander's hatch, put my third shot into his commander's hatch, and as he backs up, I put my fourth shot through his front drive wheel, and he kills me. But he's now down onto 200 health. So even though he killed me, basically I reduced his health by about 1,100 in three penetrating hits. So that's pretty powerful. And with him being one of the very few people left alive on his team, even though he did kill me, he essentially didn't accomplish anything because he was so weak that our IS-6 and IS-3 were just able to sweep down onto him and kill him. And they're now moving in on the T-54, and we're capturing the base. So this was a good win for me. I did a lot of damage, and I feel like I fought effectively, holding the middle basically by myself and supporting the friendly tanks up to the north. So basically, what I would say about the T-54E1 is my test server impression from this tank is that it's really good. It combines the mobility of an average medium tank with incredible firepower. It's like having an IS-3. This thing's gun is like being able to take 4 IS-3s and shoot the target in one giant volley. It is really good. Well, that's all for now. This is Captain Dorja with Captain Dorja's Armory. And just remember, you can never have enough big guns.